All right, so I do want to talk about again in your book on page 16. It's a great page. It starts there, and all these properties are laid out for you. But I do want to quickly talk about identity and inverse and what these two things are, because these are really, really important. It's good to kind of have an understanding of these. So first of all, identity. Identity means, and these are kind of like properties of an operation. So let's talk about addition. Addition. All right. So addition of the, again, we're talking, regular numbers that you're used to, real numbers, right? Addition, right? So what, if I have some number, we can say, I don't know, A, and we'll do an example too. The identity is asking, or it's telling me, what do I have to do to A to get the same thing? I want to apply this addition, and I want to have something here, and afterwards I want to have the exact same thing left over. So with addition, this is the identity. I'll write that. Identity. With addition, we are adding, right? It depends on the operation. With addition, we're adding 0. We're adding no things, and we get back to A again, right? Or so 3 plus 0, for example, is 3. Or any number plus 0. So this would be the additive identity. Okay. How about multiplication? Under multiplication, so these are operations, right? We talk about identities and inverses and things under certain operations. So for instance, we have A, maybe some number, and we want to ask what times what shoots us out exactly the same number. Well, if we use 0, we're not going to get the same thing. We're going to get 0. So it's not 0, right? For multiplication, we find that the identity, it's a little sloppy there, but the identity for multiplication is 1, right? Because anything times 1, right? 3 times 1 is 3 again, right? 0 is not going to work. If we do 0, we're just going to get 3 times 0 equals 0, and that's not what we're trying to do. We're trying to show that times this special number gives us the exact same number. And same thing with addition, but we're using a different operation. Plus this special number, 0, right, gives us out the original number that we started with, maybe 3, right? Okay, so that's identity under addition and under multiplication. So they're different numbers. The identity is 0 for addition. Identity is 1 for multiplication. All right, and then the next thing we have is inverse. Inverse. Okay, so we have additive inverse. And the question we ask ourselves for inverse, what does this mean? Well, what this is if I have some number A and I use the addition, operation because I want the additive inverse, plus what number gives us not A again, but gives us the actual identity for addition. Okay, so let me say that one more time. For addition, the inverse, we're applying some new number plus that original number, and that doesn't give us the number we started with, it gives us the identity. It gives us the identity, 0, right? For multiplication, we'll do an example in 1 second. For multiplication, we're going to have A, not plus, but times. Some number gives us what? Do we want A? No. Do we want 0? No. We want the identity, the multiplicative identity, and that's 1. So let's go back to addition. So with addition, A plus what is 0? Well, the opposite number. A plus negative A gives us 0. Let's do an example. 3 plus negative 3 equals 0. The additive identity. Additive identity, 0, right here. So the inverse gives us the identity. All right, let's do it. So with multiplication over here. So A times what is 1? Well, this is kind of interesting. We actually take the reciprocal. We talked a little bit about this in class, probably already. But reciprocal is make the number into a fraction with the original number on the denominator, right? Because what happens is we get A, if we multiply these, A over 1 times 1 over A. And what does that equal to? That's A times 1 over A times 1. That equals A over A. And anything over itself is 1. And 1, again, the multiplicative identity. So we're finding out what do we do to this number to get us under the operation of multiplication, what do we do to this number to get us the identity, right? And for example, we'll do 3, right? 3 times, well, what's the multiplicative identity of 3? It's just 1 over that number. And that gives us 1. All right, that's a little bit about the additive multiplicative identity and inverse. Good job, guys. All right, so I'm going to do a couple examples here. Okay, yeah, just to clear everything up, right? The identity, the additive identity is 0, right? We saw that. And the multiplicative identity is 1. All right, and the additive inverse is the opposite number. Opposite number. Okay. The multiplicative inverse is not the opposite, but the reciprocal. Reciprocal. That's really sloppy, but reciprocal. Okay. So let's do a couple example problems. For instance, okay, so let's talk about inverse. All right, so I've got the number 4. What is the inverse? What is the, let's do an additive inverse. What is the additive inverse? Okay, 4. Okay, well, let's see. I want to get the identity when I apply the inverse, the additive inverse. I need to apply something to give me the identity, 0, right? So what do I apply? -4. And I think I'm belaboring it. You can see this is going to get really easy as you do a couple examples, right? Okay, 100 or 1,287. What is the additive inverse of this? Well, same question. What do I need to apply to this to give me the identity, the additive identity, which is 0? Well, I need to apply the opposite number, 1,287, right? -1,287, and it goes the other way too, right? So we could have -8. What do I need to apply to -8? Well, just apply the opposite number. The opposite of 8, a -8, is +8. Right? And -8 plus 8 gives us the identity, 0. We can do the exact same thing for multiplicative identity. Okay, and this one we can use, oh, I didn't use any fractions. Let's use some fractions so you don't get freaked out when you see them. 4, right? -18 over 7, all right? What is the additive inverse? Well, guess what? The opposite number, always the opposite number. So all we need to do is apply the opposite. Negative, the opposite of negative is a positive, so +18 over 7. And let's just see how this works. Okay, so -18 plus 18. We have the same denominator, so we can just add these straight across. And that equals 0 over 7. And 0 over anything is equal to 0, right? Okay, good. So that's additive inverse. And for multiplicative, let's check it out. So let's use the same numbers. All right, number 1, what is the multiplicative inverse? Okay, what is the multiplicative inverse? All right, so 4, what's the multiplicative inverse? Well, I want to figure out what number do I need to multiply times what we're given to give us the multiplicative identity, 1, not 0, right? So that's going to be 1/4. Just the reciprocal of the number. Okay, how about 2? Same setup. I'll use the exact same number so you guys can see the difference between these. So we have 1,287, right? Times what? Times some number gives us the identity, multiplicative identity, which is 1. Okay, times, well, the reciprocal. Reciprocal, 1 over 1,287. Well, you might ask, well, what about negative numbers? Okay, what about negatives? All right, -8. Okay, how are we going to do this? Wouldn't it be times +8? Well, no. We'll just go again. Again, we're going reciprocal. So times what gives us 1? Remember, we want +1 as our final answer. So, and I can write this one out because this one will get a little little bit tricky to see without writing out the steps. Okay, so 1 over -8, right? You could look at it that way, or -1/8 is the same. And let's write this one out really quick. I'll show you the steps. We have -8 over 1, right? We can put any number over 1. It's the same number. Okay, times 1 over -8. See how that's reciprocal, right? And what happens? Okay, well that equals -8 times 1 over, 1 times -8, which is -8 over -8. What happens to those negatives? They cancel. And what's 8 over 8, or any number over over itself, is always equal to 1. Okay, so you can see you want to make sure that negative does stay in the reciprocal, so that they cancel and make positive 1. And finally, last one, -18 over 7. What are we going to do? Reciprocal. The multiplicative inverse, the reciprocal. 7 over -18. And also, you guys, I can write -7 over +18 also. It's the same. Okay, and that equals 1. So I'll just leave this equals here, equals 1.